Today you are going to have two introductions, you know. So you start with me, it's going to be short. I'm introducing Maxwell Cameron, who is actually a neighbor and a professor of political science. He's director of the Center Institute for
Study Democratic
Institutions, and he sent me emails a number of times asking the question, Rashid, how do you conserve nature? How do you protect things like dolphins in countries where the democracy or the governments are so weak, where you have corruption, where you have capture of the government, and so on? How do you protect them? And this is something we've been thinking a lot about, and I think we're going to think more about from here. So Maxwell will introduce his friend whom he met during sabbatical in Peru, and then he went out with him and saw dolphins and really got, wow, really excited about how to protect dolphins. And so, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It really is an honor to present Stefan. Austermuehle, who runs an organization called UBC. And as Rashid knows, when I went on sabbatical last year, I had heard already from reports of the BBC and the international press about the illegal hunt of dolphins for the use as shark bait, and this extraordinary hunt of shark as well. And so I thought it would be worthwhile while I was down there to find out a little bit more about this. And so I contacted UBC and met Stefan in that context. In fact, he took his colleagues took myself, my wife, and my son out to observe the dolphins along the coast of Peru. It was really one of the most inspiring, moving experiences of my life. But also through talking with Stefan, I learned more about the extraordinary work that he has done to try to document and bring to the attention of the global public this terrible crime that's happening in Peru. So in the context of those conversations, we began to look at ways that we might be able to support Stefan's work. So this is really more than a talk. For me, this is an opportunity to introduce Stefan to our community here, both researchers, policymakers, environmental NGOs, conservationists. My hope is that we can come away from this with some practical steps that we can take to support the kind of work that he's doing in Peru. So I'm just delighted that the Fisheries Center, that Rashid and Anna have enabled us to have this meeting. I'm delighted with your presence here. And if you do have an interest in meeting with Stefan, if there are things that you think that we should be doing, any advice or thoughts that you might have after this talk, he will be around for the next few days. He's here until at least Wednesday morning. So Monday and Tuesday, there's some time in the schedule if you want to speak with him. And he will be speaking at the Vancouver Institute on Saturday night, 8:15 at the Woodward Center. And will be interviewed on the radio and on the coast this afternoon. So we really want to have as much impact as possible. I'll just say very briefly, Stefan is a leading marine conservationist who is the executive director of this NGO, UBC. He's worked for 27 years in conservation, environmental management. He's done extensive research. As I go through his CV, I'm stunned by the amount of work he's worked in Manu. I see Renee here, and Sarah, who's spent some time in Manu. He's taught courses in Peruvian universities. He's organized research projects, policy projects. He's interested in sustainable development, alternatives to mega projects, and trying to find ways of building on tourism and ecotourism as alternatives for populations in countries like Peru that find themselves in a position of what you're just about to see. So thank you for coming, and thank you, Stefan, for being here, and look forward to the talk.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to first thank Maxwell that he made it possible for me to come here to Canada, and thank you, Rashid and Susan. I knew that would happen. For making it possible to be here with you guys at the Fisheries Centers and share this this story. You're probably in that story you will not see the reflected the academic part of Stefan Austermuehle, but more the activist part of Stefan Austermuehle. I'll try to tell you the story how we came to discover the illegal killing of maybe up to 15,000 dolphins per year that have been gone unnoticed for many, many years. But before we talk about that, Peru is an amazing country. It's one of the 10 most biodiverse countries in the world. It has 10% of all the bird species, 40% of all the butterfly species of the world. And I could continue with a record number like this. 10% is of all the mammal species, and so on and so on. But not only in the rainforest, cloud forest, in the Andes, very diverse geography, but also its ocean. It's amazing. It's one of the most productive ocean areas in the world, maybe the most productive ocean area in the world, because in front of Peru's coast, we're catching 10% of the entire world's fish catch. Imagine 10% just in front of one country. So where there's a lot of fish, there are a lot of predators, naturally. We have more than 30 species of whales and dolphins registered in our waters, and not a single population study done yet. Imagine. How much work for you guys? And we did some study over dolphins. Too fast. These are bottlenose dolphins. We did the first population study with photo identification for 6 years between Lima and Paracas. That's about a distance of 200 kilometers of shoreline. And in these 6 years, we photo identified 1,600 different adult individuals of bottlenose dolphins in only 200 kilometers. 600 of them being resident dolphins, the other ones just passing by. But 600 resident dolphins in 200 kilometers of coastline is one of the biggest or most dense dolphin populations around the world. So there is still a lot of biodiversity there. There's a lot of dolphins left. And I can only recommend to everybody, if you visit Peru, take the lifetime chance to come to Peru and see this beautiful nature that we have there. However, I'm not one of those guys that only see the ocean's beauty. My work brings me in contact mostly with the other side. And I started relatively early with that kind of work. My early years. I started in 1987 as a volunteer for the just formed German Greenpeace section. And then a few years later started my own NGO. We lobbied against dolphins in captivity. A little later I wrote my first book while studying biology. That was a book analyzing the psychological problems of animals in captivity. Suddenly I have become the most hated person in most of the German zoos. They had a picture hanging in the entrance. I was prohibited to come into the zoo and all that kind of stuff. We managed to close 5 of the 9 dolphinariums in Germany in these years. And then later on, I became involved in an undercover research in the university where I was studying. That is probably the terror of each professor, that one of his students could become an undercover agent in his work. It happened in this case. I worked 2 years undercover in the monkey laboratory of the university where I was studying. Then I changed the university to continue my studies somewhere else. And we published data about animal abuse, about misdealing with research funds, and the illegal sale of property of the university, which were monkeys. And with this economic data, less than the animal abuse data, after 2 years of campaigning, we managed to close down the entire laboratory. So, to my record, that was the first time ever that in Europe or in Germany a laboratory was closed because of the activities of an animal activist. And it was a success. I later then, in 1998, settled in Peru, so I'm now there 16 years living in Peru. And we did a huge number of different things. We had very good success. We could help to declare 28 guano islands to be a protected area. These islands are harboring about 90% of our sea lion colonies and 70% of the Humboldt penguin colonies in Peru. We worked with local populations, in that case, to avoid an industrial port project. We managed to stop an entire industrial port and save a bay that was then later on declared a protected area by the government. So quite some success in this kind of works, but sometimes it's not only the big things, it's the small things that you have to do to actually get success. Like in this presentation of a poor school of handicapped children. So this is also part of our groundwork, working with communities, not only with politicians and the lobbyists. But I don't want you to think that I'm a hero, because I'm not. I'm just like you. Just a regular, normal person that does what he thinks that has to be done. And I believe that every one of you is powerful. By my life, I believe truly in the power of one person. One person can start a movement, one person can turn around things and move that place, this world we live in, to a better place. So every one of you has that power. And you can do something, and I hope that with all the things that we can reach or manage in Peru, that I can motivate you guys to take action for the topics you have here in Canada or wherever you want to feel you want to work, because you have that power too. Now, the presentation that I have today is not a nice presentation. I'm going to share with you very, very graphic images, very graphic videos. So please be prepared. I am one of these guys that think that we have to face reality in order to get moved and not just hear about it and look away and say, I don't want to see these pictures. So I have been seeing these pictures for weeks, and I've just brought a few minutes for you. So I'm going to challenge you to actually look at the pictures. Because I think you will take away something from this presentation by looking at the pictures that is much more deeper than just hearing about it and seeing a slide or statistics, the way we scientists are used. Now, killing dolphins in Peru is not the Peruvian tradition. Let's have a look at catch statistics. You can see these statistics in the 60s. We had very little landings, measured in tons, of dolphin meat landed on the port, what appears. Very little landings, and that is because eating dolphin meat was brought to Peru by Italian settlers. They were used to eat dried dolphin meat called muchaman in their parties, as party snack. And they ordered some of the fishermen to do that, but it really did not grip with the Peruvian population. And then you see something extraordinary happening here. Now, if we look at this year, that was a fisheries crash. Sardines were overfished in Peru in order to be used for fishing. They exterminated the sardines. There were no sardines left. Fisheries crash. No food, nothing to fish around. And thousands, tens of thousands of fishermen went out of work. And at that point, they discovered, hey, dolphin meat is around. There's lots of dolphins around. And it's a very cheap source of protein to be sold on the markets for the poor. And they started big-scale killing of dolphins for human consumption. So it's not a traditional factor like in Japan, in Norway, Faroe Islands, Denmark. Yeah, it's not a tradition, and it has an economic background. As you can see, the numbers were rising. I should have statistics from the 90s. I don't have, but in the 90s, basically, scientific analysis of independent researchers came to the conclusion that up to 20,000 dolphins are getting killed for human consumption legally in Peru. And that was when Peruvian conservationists started lobbying against that, and how I was becoming involved in the whole thing, because we had the first email contact listes. Remember that? I was the writing typewriter at that time. So we had the first email things between NGOs, and we helped them, Peruvian conservationists, to create a campaign. And in 1996, they had managed that the then Peruvian President Alberto Fujimori made a special law declaring small cetaceans to be protected, prohibiting completely any kind of killing of dolphins for any kind of reason. With that, of course, we thought that those kind of pictures are past. It's not there anymore. It was prohibited. You didn't see dolphins landed on the piers anymore. Problem resolved. Great victory for conservationists. And of course the government, as it was now prohibited, you could not possibly legally land a dolphin on a pier, they didn't take any statistics anymore. So from that point on, there's no statistics of dolphin kills anymore. So actually when we started Mundo Azul, we worked on completely different things. We did biodiversity research, crabs and all kind of stuff, diving along the coast. So we're traveling a lot along the coast. And while traveling along the beaches, we found that. And first we thought, okay, that's one guy that doesn't comply with the law, and it's an exemption. And the longer we traveled, the more we found. And if you find that, then it's obviously that is not a natural death. It's very clearly a hunted dolphin for consumption. Now, you have that kind of a problem. You have a law that prohibits this. When you travel along an isolated beach and you find that, then you get a problem. That is, if you cannot count it, it can't be true. If I can make a statistic about a problem, people are inclined to believe me about the dimension of that problem. If I just have a few pictures, they say, well, that's an exception. That's not a general problem. That's not a big thing. So that we have a huge problem from that time on till nowadays to make politicians accept that there is a problem, to make even conservationists support us, or scientists in the IWC accept that there's a problem because we cannot count it. Well, that's a funny thing, and that's very special for nature, because think about it. Imagine if we talk about prostitution, child abuse, drug, illegal weapons. Whoever would ask to first make a scientific study to find out exactly how many children are abused, how would you ever do that before we take action? If we talk about numbers of crime, we always have an estimate in front of us that is based on a few cases that have become known, and we naturally think that's the tip of the iceberg. And we take action because of precautionary grounds. In nature, it's the other way around. In any nature conservation projects, the opponents, the developers, or whoever wants to continue the problem will tell you, if you can't prove to me that this problem is really that big, then it's not there. And that's a big problem. Because how do you want to do conservation strategy about an illegal activity, a criminal activity? It's an ecological crime in Peru to kill a dolphin. It's 3 years of jail time for killing a dolphin. So nobody is going to do that openly. So how do you want to make clear to a government that this is an important thing and that's happening all along the coast? So what we did, and let me just go back to that little scene, these 2 dolphins. For us, the whole thing started in Christmas Eve 2001. And I was with my family on the beach, because on Christmas we have summer. We were on the beach and we saw these 3 beautiful dolphins playing in front of us in the waves. And the next morning when I was jogging on the beach, I found them again. And when that happened, I said, look, it's enough. We have to do something about that. But what can we do? How can we prove that this is happening? And so what we did is, I remembered my activist past, and we said, okay, let's take hidden cameras. And at that time, hidden cameras was not like today, incorporated in a watch and with a microchip and blah, blah, blah. No, no. We had actually the chance to get a button camera, in a button with a smart camera. But it was with cables and with a huge recorder, and you had to hide the whole thing. It's not that easy, no. And let's make an undercover investigation. Let's find the guys who are dealing with, who are doing this. But how do you find, you cannot find the killers of the dolphins, the hunters. But somewhere this meat has to surface and to be sold publicly. So what we did is we patrolled with our volunteers, and you can imagine I cannot be an undercover investigator in Peru because I'm shining out, very white, between all these brown people. Yeah. And here I'm very small, but in Peru I'm very high, so it's just not working. So we had volunteers. We had volunteers starting from my housemate that helped us cleaning, that could dress and behave like that social people that go buying meat on these poor people markets. So we had these volunteers equipped with this camera, and we had them traveling along the coast. And they brought us videos from the sale of dolphins. Now, in this presentation, I have a technical problem, which I had never before. I have to switch permanently back and forth between videos. Yes, that would be helpful. I have 20 seconds. Yeah, 20 seconds of that.
¿Chanchito?
Sí, chanchito.
¿Me puedes cortar como bistec?
¿Lomito? ¿Cuánto?
Como bistec, medio kilo.
A good idea of the kind of footage that we got, and as you can see, that's the kind of market we're talking about. We're not talking about a supermarket, we're talking about something that is really very basic, very anti-hygienic, yeah, but that's how these markets are. And we found this dolphin meat to be sold on all the fish markets along the coast. 3,000 kilometers of coast, basically in every port that was going on. So we knew that's a big problem, but again, how do you quantify that? So what you have seen here was relatively fresh meat. When dolphin meat gets old, it gets dark, it gets really black. Yeah? So by observing an identified dealer over 2-3 weeks and being a client actually buying dolphin meat to not shine out, we could determine the frequency of getting fresh meat, because whenever there was red fresh meat, we knew a new dolphin had been killed. So by monitoring the number of dealers and the number of the frequency, we could get an idea of how much dolphins are getting killed. And our estimate at that time was 2,000 to 3,000 dolphins per year in all Peru, which is quite a number. Then again, how do you go on from there? Back to my presentation. Yeah, so that's what we basically did. We did the monitoring, and then we went to the police. We had a freshly established ecological police department in Lima, only for the entire country, and we gave them that video material. We said, well, here's the information, here's the intelligence, now let's go. They didn't have money for the gasoline, they didn't have money for anything, so we had to fundraise money to actually pay the trip of a policeman coming with us to the local policeman, surprising them so nothing could be filtered through and something like this. And we arrived there and we said, yeah, we have the sample, let's make a raid. And we looked at these pictures, and they looked at the location, and they got very long faces. And then suddenly I found myself in a movement of policemen with helmets and with shields and with tear gas guns. Whoa, whoa, huh? It's just a guy selling. No, it's not just a guy. These markets are crammed full of people that don't like police. So you cannot just go there and say, hey, you're doing something illegal. No, you have to do that in a raid fashion, like as if you would make a drug raid or something like that. So just to give you an idea, how is the mechanic of that? We send out our undercover person that knows exactly where the place is with an undercover policeman in civil clothing to just stand beside that, and then our undercover man goes away because he cannot be identified. And then we rushed in with police cars with 10, 20, 30 policemen from different directions, rushing in, grabbing the meat, grabbing the guy, and running out of that place. So my job was to accompany the police. I was in police raids, actually. They gave me police uniforms so that I could not get stabbed or something like that. So people have a bit more respect. Yeah? And my work was then to be the official witness and sign the papers, because our undercover people could not be put in danger. And that means I made a lot of friends with these fishermen. Just some picture how that looks like. That's how you find the meat. Take it out of the fridge in sacks. That's fresh meat. And you take the guy away. He gets fingerprinted and all that kind of stuff. So over these few years we did that, we maybe made some 12 operations raids and caught some 20 dealers, but that's the tip of the iceberg of all this thing that's going on. And I can tell you that was 2003, 2004, and it's still going on. Right now I know 3 places identified plus 3 dealers that are selling dolphin meat right now. And we just don't have the resources to do the police work all the time. I mean, it's really hard to finance conservation work. Believe me, it's much harder to finance that. Nobody wants to finance police work. It's impossible to finance. So we cannot continue this work, and we know it's going on. Now, having done this work, still we were wondering about something else, because this is a dusky dolphin. But the coastal populace, the dolphins that are swimming in front of our coast are bottlenose dolphins. Dusky dolphins are like 20, 30 miles outside. And it was clear then that the fishermen that would do that are fishermen that go fishing offshore, not the fishermen that would fish close to the shoreline. So the bottlenose dolphins that are shoreline dolphins are really protected. You cannot just kill them and somebody's in the beach and sees you. You could identify the number of your boating. No? They would do that outside where nobody can see them, and then they would store that dolphin on ice, and before they come in the port they would slaughter it, throw the body overboard. It gets then with the currents carried to the beach, and they sell the meat. But then the question is again, who are these guys? I mean, we were dealing with the dealers, not with the perpetrators of the crime. So, next video, we'll show something that we discovered in 2007.
In 2007, while researching on pink river dolphins in the Peruvian rainforest, I had the chance to interview and film a taxi driver who previously had been working as a shark fisher along the coast. I was shocked from what he told me, and it should prey on my mind for years to come. He claimed that dolphins not only continued to be killed for human consumption, but that fishermen would slaughter them to use their meat as bait for sharks. When asked if they would club the dolphins to death, he said no, and explained that fishermen would use handheld iron harpoons to hook them on steel cables, then let them bleed out. He admitted that the dolphin's death was slow and painful.
So, then we got another problem. Because apparently what had happened is that since the dolphins were not allowed to be landed for the human population anymore, fishermen seem to have found a different kind of use for that. So they now killed them not for human consumption, or very little of them for human consumption that they could illegally continue to sell, but they used their meat as bait for sharks. And now we've got a real problem, because shark fishery is done 100 miles offshore, maybe even in international waters, depending on how the currents are going, how the thing is. So how do you want to prove that? shark fishing boats in Peru are 11-meter short wooden things with 3-4 people on it. You cannot possibly find out what these guys are doing in a big ocean somewhere there. There's no way to prove that. So the question is, what's going on out there? Is that just talk of one taxi driver? Just like fishermen like to exaggerate everything. I've caught a fish that size when it was just that size. So we did the same thing again, and it actually took us, and I have to say that this one, it took us 6 years to find the funds to do what I'm going to report now. And it's thanks to Blue Voice, that is an NGO from the United States, that we got the resources. 6 years of sending pictures, asking people, we have that problem, we would like to investigate. Nobody cared. So what we did is we equipped again our undercover people with hidden cameras. And they walked along the streets of ports, and their task this time was to talk to fishermen and have somebody confirm that this is happening. So imagine the situation. I mean, killing the dolphins is illegal. How could you expect that somebody on the open street meets you and tells you, oh yeah, we're doing this? It's very unlikely, right? In 2 weeks, they came back with 20 fishermen interviewed, admitting that they either would kill themselves or that they know fishermen doing that. So easy. And I think I have a clip with 2 of these movies.
¿Qué cosa le dicen el chancho que le ponen de carnada también?
Ah, ya, es el chancho marino o el delfín.
Ah, le ponen así.
Claro.
Para los tiburones, ¿no? Eso que le ponen.
Tiburones también.
Especial para el tiburón, dice que come porque es bastante grasa tiene.
No,
¿O lo qué?
es llamativo, o sea, el color rojo.
Que botan.
Esto tiene que ser la pesca como los norteños,
¿Cómo es loco?
con puro chancho, ¿no? Esa es la pesca. Ya eso de caballo, ya fue película.
¿Que en el norte que es puro chancho?
Claro, ahí no salen con gastos. Ahí no salen con gastos.
Que tienen que cajar tu carnada para...
3 días, 3 meses.
¿De qué? De...
Van nomás a buscar chancho, ¿no?
A punta arpón.
En bolsa de buria, lo meten.
Some of our fishermen would even say that how many they themselves would kill. And yeah, and I can switch over all this, and because the next 3 things, I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to show you filmed images from what we were doing next, because we were obviously convinced that we had a big problem in front of us. If 20 people in 2 weeks tell me, oh yeah, everybody's doing that, and what they told us was, on each fishing trip of a long line shark fishing boat, 2 to 10 dolphins are getting killed. So if that is the information that I build on, then I do some simple mathematics. There is 500 legally registered shark fishing boats, and there are much more of them not legally registered. They're going out up to 10 times per year, each fishing trip 1 month. If they would kill only 2 to 5 dolphins, not 10, 2 to 5 dolphins on every trip, and if they would only go out, I think we had calculated 8 times or something like that, we get to a range, an estimated range of 5,000 to 15,000 dolphins being killed per year. That's a lot. That's more than the Japanese kill. Plus the 2,000 or 3,000 that go for human consumption. Plus the ones that end up dead in the fishing nets by accident. It's too much for any kind of population to sustain. So the question is that, again, it's just rumors. It's just fishermen telling us things. And I would never be able to move anybody, not a scientist here, not a scientist in the IWC, not a politician in any kind of government, to react based on 20 interviews of people saying that. As long as I cannot really prove that is really happening, I just need 1 proof for that. I thought, I just need 1. So how do you do that? It's a small fishing boat. They go out for a month. You don't know where they are. It's 4 people on it. You cannot mount a camera hidden on this boat that could not go detected for a month. You cannot fly a drone over them. That's very fashionable. It's not going to work. There's not enough battery, not enough reach of these things. You cannot convince one of the crew, like family members. They've traveled all the year. They live together. They're married. Yeah? You cannot convince one of them to go undercover and bring in his colleagues. So there's absolutely no way to film that. So we thought, okay, let's do it different. We're going to be an international TV crew. And we're going to make a documentary about shark fishing, not talking about dolphins at all. And you are going to be the heroes. So we found a boat, several of them, and we made the offer. Look, we want to make a document about our gringo, we want to make a document about shark fishing, and we want to be on your boat for 1 month and drive with you and film the sharks, shark fishing, and you're going to be the heroes. And yeah, we found one. So I have a few clips from that trip, and I think that's enough. Let's go into the first one.
Now I see for the first time the iron bar and the harpoon tip. I am in the final chapter of years of undercover investigation. By now, we have enough hints indicating a massive dolphin kill.
The problem always was, how do you want to prove an illegal practice that happens 40, 50 miles offshore in small wooden boats where no inspectors, no cameras are on board? So we decided to take this a step further. We identified and we found a fishing boat, talked to fishermen, and convinced them that we could be on board and film the shark fishing in all its details. I need to be honest, I have no clue what to expect. Tomorrow, at this time, I will be starting in a small wooden fishing boat under very precarious conditions to navigate 20 days and fish sharks and witness the killing of dolphins.
I have special cameras and built a long metal stick in order to get the camera right to the spot from where I can film best. I want to be prepared for anything that could happen. I need this proof, and there's only one chance. Now it's only me and the fishermen. There's no going back.
Just before we left, they still repaired the motor, so I'm really feeling very comfortable on that boat. It's an 11-meter long or short wooden fishing boat, a very old boat. No real safety measures on board. I think I'm the only one that is wearing a life vest. And well, we're supposed to travel about 600 kilometers south along the coast and then up to 300 kilometers or 150 miles offshore in order to get to the fishing area for the sharks.
Right from the beginning, a crew member positions himself at the boat with the harpoon ready. The sooner we hunt dolphins and have the bait, the better our chance for a successful fishing trip. I have very different concerns. Wind, waves and the constant spray put the camera gear at risk. Any moment the splashing salt water can ruin the camera, and that was it. Who knows if the gear will survive these conditions for nearly an entire month. This is storage room, kitchen, living and bedroom all in one. 4 grown-up men will sleep here in between their clothing, half the food for an entire month, cooking pots, plus all my camera gear. Every step carries the danger of slipping out and going overboard. I'm used to sail on small boats, but this tiny nutshell tops them all. I am starting to get an idea on how it might be to shoot a film under these conditions, trying not to be in the way of working fishermen or fall over the fish catch, and at the same time get the right angle, protect the camera, and avoid falling overboard myself.
The end of the day finds me very worried, actually, because this is a very moved climate, lots of wind. Boat is moving up and down all the time. There's really no dry place on this boat, and I'm starting to worry about how to charge the batteries while filming all these days, because I have to somehow find a way to switch on the generator to produce some electricity and get the computer connected to that and get all these cables waterproof.
Suddenly it appears the dolphin hunters will be lucky. Just in front of the boat, 2 dolphins break through the surface, but as fast as they appeared, they are gone again. In a way, I'm happy that today I don't have to find out if I can actually manage to just stand by and film this slaughter.
Well, that was my first night on board in my luxurious bedroom here. It's very hard bedding. There's no mattress, just wood. And as you can see, you don't have a lot of space to turn around or change your position. So I have to say my entire back is hurting me. I have to see how to get out here, and really was not good sleeping, because whenever the boat goes up a wave and tips, afterwards you feel your stomach comes up to your mouth. So I can really understand if somebody gets seasick under that conditions, but so far I did well. So let's see how I can get out of here and get myself unfolded. Well, still there's a lot of wind today in the morning, but the ocean looks a little bit calmer. And I'm in the back part of the boat, which I found was the driest one to stay on the nets and lines. And just observing some seabirds following the boat. And there's a sea lion also behind us. And well, let's see what the day will bring us, I think. We had stopped the boat in the afternoon with a floating anchor, tried to wait for less wind, and it appeared to calm down. Big waves, very strong wind, no forthcoming with that boat. We're basically driving all day to stay on the same spot and not to get drifted northwards. At least I had a chance to charge my batteries, but really this is not fun. I've done a lot of things, but a lot of expeditions, but this is going to become one of the hardest one I've ever done. Really, everybody's moods are down. Fishermen are bothered because they can't fish, they can't work, lose their gasoline, don't get to anything. They're starting to get angry about my camera equipment lying around in the little space that is there. What's most likely to happen is that the fishing trip will be extended. Instead of 20 days, it's going to be 23, 24, 25 days, because these guys have to come back with a full boat and they have to fish. And finally, I also have to film something. And like it is, I can't film anything. So the only ones that at the moment in a good mood are the seabirds that are following us with a lot of patience, because they know at some point of time they will have some food falling off that boat.
I want to use the stop for an interview, but when entering the wheelhouse, a radio conversation immediately makes clear to me: killing dolphins is key for fishing sharks.
Sí, mira, estoy por la 17, por la 1722, por la 7820. 7820 nomás está. Sí, por ahí nomás estoy, no puedo avanzar más, hasta ahí no me he llegado. Ya, yo estoy más para afuera, estoy más para la pampa, estoy. Ya, mira, gatito, hoy has encontrado chanchito, ¿no? Nada, no, ni vemos, chancho. Igual, oye, pucha, que yo me he confiado en el chancho, pero ahora no tengo carnada, ¿qué voy a hacer, pe? Ya como sea, guerrearemos nomás, pe. Claro, pero ay, bota potearte, pues, puro ramal, no va a trabajar. Sí, unos cuantos hemos jalado. Ya pues confiado en Chanchito y salir, pero no pasa nada. Ya vamos a ver qué es lo que pasa, pero ojalá que nos quede una manada de Chanchito
Listening to this, I have no doubt about the value of a dolphin. The fishermen call a fish. A shark is called an animal. A dolphin is called a pig. So far, whenever I met dolphins, they enjoyed bull riding alongside the research ship. Mothers even brought their newborn babies to enjoy the wake. Observing them having fun filled our hearts with joy. Whenever I see them approaching this fishing boat, I know their trust may end with death. To these fishermen, these pigs of the sea are nothing else but a swimming piece of bait. I have lost track of how far offshore we are, but it is clear that if they would discover my real intentions out here, accidentally losing a man at sea would be an easy way to resolve the problem. So I keep on making small talk, asking them about their lives and families, trying to develop trust. This being probably my best life insurance. A big school of dusky dolphins appears. I see them first with my underwater camera. Turned on by the thrill of the chase, the fishermen forget all about bad moods. Their swims, their high-quality bait, just in reach for the harpoon. The other dolphins keep on swimming alongside the victim.
No, ahí ya ha quedado. Está sangrando, ¿te das cuenta? Ahí está sangrando, mira. La espalda.
Now the camera has to stay on the dolphin, no matter what. Fuck! I stumbled over something. Where is the dolphin? I can't believe it. I'm just staring at this through the lens. Keep the lens on the dolphin. Keep the lens on the dolphin. My mind goes blank. I feel empty. 17 years of legal dolphin protection, countless efforts to lobby, to campaign, to raise environmental consciousness, but out here, nothing has changed.
De que está prohibido, sí está prohibido. De que lo sabemos completamente, todos lo saben. Ahora, para que la autoridad o la autoridad competente nos vea a nosotros, tiene que venir a zona de pesca, buscarnos exactamente y ese día vernos con el delfín. cosa que es nulo, es improbable. No, ni siquiera se puede decir que es uno entre 1000 o uno en 1.000.000. Simplemente es improbable. ¿Por qué? Porque la vez que nosotros vemos una embarcación de capitanía, te puede mirar todavía, sucede ese momento, el delfín lo botamos al agua y el problema está solucionado. O sea, nunca, jamás, never. Okay?
Callous words and cynical jokes, no consciousness of wrongdoing.
What I could witness over the last 6 days on board, the very professional killing of dolphins, the very professional slicing them up for using their body parts as bait for sharks, the radio communication between boats, giving help to each other where to find dolphins, the words of the captain admitting openly that he's not only using basically in every trip dolphins as shark bait, but he's also involved in selling dolphin meat illegally for human consumption. All this together really gives a shocking picture of the way that in Peru fishing law is completely ignored.
Our proof, and I thought that I've pretty much done it. And then they started fishing sharks. And I very naively had imagined that fishing sharks is like fishing with a rod, you know, take the fish, that's it. It was not like that. The taking in a long line as to, they put them out over the day with a bait on each hook, and then they take them in during the night, and it's 25 kilometers of line with thousands of hooks, so they have to be fast. It's like a machinery that goes. So their goal is to bring in the sharks and have them immobilized, not killed, immobilized as fast as possible so they can't bite anymore. They can get them off the hook without getting bitten. And the way they do that is they cut off the nose and then take a finger and mash the brain, or take a long metal rod and stick it down the spine. So they mash the entire nervous system, so the shark can't move anymore. And that's what we did for 2 weeks. So every night I was 5 minutes covered from the shark blood from tip to toe, and I filmed that. And that has not been shown anywhere on TV, because whenever we showed that material, they said, no. Dolphins is enough. My people won't hold out to see that picture. So switch channel, I never want that. So you're going to be the first ones to go see a few of that. And I just want to go to say a few more sentences about sharks, because we're talking about the illegal killing of 15,000 dolphins. That's bad enough. But if you look at the statistics of shark fishing, you see that sharks have been fished traditionally in Peru for human consumption. These are dock sharks. Yeah? And as you can see from here, the population has been going down due to overfishing, and the bigger sharks are starting to get fished. In 2003, Peruvian Fisheries Research Institute started publishing on their website a promotion for the killing of macro sharks, hammerheads, and other big sharks at a time when conservationists all around the world were lobbying for starting to protect the white shark and others, because we knew they're overfished. And they promoted shark fishing of big sharks as an underused resource, and it's such a great opportunity to sell the fins to the Asian market. That was 2003. When they published that, I wrote an article saying that, hey, what are you doing is a recipe for overfishing, because you don't have a population study, you don't have a fisheries management scheme in place, and you don't have a monitoring scheme in place. And the only reaction of the government was to take out the promotion from the website. And they kept on going with that. And by now, we know from lots of independent studies that exactly that had happened. If you click one more, 90%, more than 90% of our landing is right now juveniles under the legal minimum size of 1.80 meters. Actually, most of them are 90 centimeters to 1 meter. You have seen very small macro sharks here getting fished. And that means that the entire shark fishery is illegal, because our law says you cannot land more than 10% of your catch being under the minimum legal size, and it's officially proved by scientists that more than 90% are under the legal minimum size. So it's an illegal fisheries, actually, but as nobody cares, and nobody monitors small-scale artisanal fisheries in Peru, but all our attention is focusing on managing the anchovies, that is just happening every day. So we're exterminating sharks while we exterminate dolphins in order to do that. It's both of them, their destiny is connected. If you would go one more, and one more. Yeah. And in fact, the solution is very easy. We have a law that says you cannot land more than 10% of juveniles, and when you get over that, then of course you have to make a fisheries moratorium till the population can come up. We never do that. Never did that. I don't know if they ever will do. But the law gives us the possibility to immediately stop fisheries of sharks for a while we design a management scheme. And by stopping fishing the sharks, at the moment, we would have protected immediately all the dolphins. But also for the dolphins, if you do one more click, also for the dolphins, there's a very super easy solution. It's so easy. It doesn't cost money. And it's very easy. We have a law. The law says it's prohibited to kill dolphins. And the only way that you could kill a dolphin, if you purposefully hunt, is a harpoon. You have seen that harpoon. It's a very heavy metal thing with a point. And you can't throw that like this. It's not possible. It's too heavy. So what they do is they do it like that. And there's only one animal in the ocean that comes to the boat like that. The sea lion would always stay 10 meters away or behind the boat. No sharks will swim parallel to your boat riding. No moonfish. Nobody will do that. Only dolphins do that. Only dolphins go bow riding, and that's when they get killed. So if you don't have a harpoon, you can't kill the dolphin, because you cannot shoot at a dolphin with a gun, because it will sink away. You need a harpoon, a handheld harpoon. So if we prohibit the harpoon, we have effectively stopped the possibility to kill them.
I don't only see the ocean's beauty. I know that right now, somewhere out there, the tip of a harpoon penetrates a dolphin body. Somewhere out there, a knife cuts through a shark face.
For me personally, it really was a shocking experience to see this killing of these animals. And I believe that we have a long way ahead to resolve this problem on an international and a national level. It's a total absence of any conscience in the fishermen that they are doing something wrong. I mean, they know that they are doing something illegal, but for them it's the normal, regular business of the day. It is clear that we are in front of a massive scale killing of dolphins. Having these images and being able to show them to the public, it's not going to be possible for the Peruvian government anymore to turn a blind eye on what is going on in this fishing fleet for years, every day. There must be changes, and they have to come soon, before we finish up the dolphins and the sharks of Peru.
The reaction up to now is we have published this material in Peru, and we had an amazing reaction from the Peruvian public to support that. And for more than 1 year, the government is not doing anything. Actually, they are trying to discredit the NGO, etc., etc. So we're basically out of tools right now. And what we are trying to do is to put that material that you have seen into a documental. An English, German, Spanish-speaking documental. 3 versions that we can then free distribute to all the TV channels and generate an international campaign. In order to do that, we need $40,000. We already have some compromise from NGOs, and we try to have a fundraising effort on the internet right now. That's an old picture. We have now $15,000 raised in the last days. That was a few days ago, $4,000. So that's actually an opportunity for all of you and your friends to help with that. Directly donate your $10, you can donate whatever you wish to that effort. If we can make that documentable, I'm sure that we can create the international pressure to resolve the problem, because as you have seen, the solution is very easy. And now I have to stop, and I invite you to come tomorrow evening to see the full presentation. I'm sorry that I could not manage to do that in 40 minutes.